All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I am Tom, and today was a rough day. So, I have my Bitcoin chart up, and we're rallying right now. So, I know everybody joined us to watch the rally. We're at 38,100. So, we got down to, these are, for those of you who can see my screen, I assume, this is the Bitcoin on the 30-minute time frame, and we just got down as low as $37,161. So we're actually up almost $1,000 in the last hour. This whole day, this was before lunch, and it was just straight downhill the rest of the day. It was very depressing. So almost everything was down, but I want to talk about 4 or 5 of these because there was some very, very strange action on some Bitcoin miners and on some stocks today. Does anybody got anything that they're following that went nuts? Hey, JM. How's it going? Hey, JJT. Hey, George, if you're there. So, you guys let me know if you have anyone you want to talk about in specific, but I have several that I want to talk about right now. And before I do any of that, I want to go through the market because today, some monumental things happened today. This was a big deal. So I'm just going to go across the top here. The S&P was down almost 3%, 2.95%. The Dow was down 2.37%. The NASDAQ was down 3.62%. I mean, that might be the worst day this year. Russell was down 2.48%. So all the indexes were down badly. Oil hit $120. So it's at 120. And actually overnight last night, it got much higher than that. It pulled back to about 117. But oil at 120, that's what's happening right here. All of these are getting tanked. You know, there's several reasons, but it's directly correlated to this number right here. And I have a bad feeling that that number is only going to be moving in the wrong direction. JJT, I'm definitely going to talk about Romeo and Beam. They had really good days on what was otherwise a bad day. Some strange stuff had really good day today. So a couple of things in the portfolio, a couple things in the 10K challenge took off, and everything else didn't. And definitely, yes, JM Cores is another one I really want to talk about. I put a video out on Core Scientific today again because they had a big announcement, so I wanted to go through that. So that's one of them. But there's another thing I want to look at here. So gold is over $2,000. Silver's a little under 26. It was over 26. Gold hasn't been over $2,000 in a few years. So you've got oil over 120, which hasn't happened in several years. You've got gold over 2,000. So everybody is fleeing the stock market right now, and you could see that today. It was not good. But I don't know what the long-term trend is. I know there's, almost every voice out there is the market is crashing. Here, this says stock slide, S&P 500 falls nearly 3%, while NASDAQ drops 3.6%. Everything is all negative bad. So I don't know. We're already down pretty far. We could go down further. So I want to look at some of that too and see where we think we're going. Because unfortunately, Bitcoin still seems to be somewhat tied to, it did better than it's doing better than the NASDAQ, but it still seems to be tied to the market. You would think it should be doing this. Gold hit a multi-year high today. And Bitcoin's digital gold. So at some point, someday, I believe Bitcoin will do what gold does. But that day is not today. All right, let's see. I'm just reading a question. Biden administration is announcing their crypto regulations next week. What do you think we can expect? I think that they're going to... I think we're going to get some very general stuff next week. This is going to keep playing out for a while. And I'd love to get to the end of it and just get some regulations because, I mean, I think we all know roughly what they're going to be. They're not going to be significantly more severe than than the SEC regulates the stock market. In fact, they're likely to be less severe than that. So the main players are already, following most of those types of rules. So I don't think there's going to be any shockers in that. I think that's going to be a catalyst to go up as soon as we get any clarity at all. Because right now, there's so many things looming over Bitcoin right now, and the stock market. So, and that's one of them. These regulations that, who knows what they're going to be. I feel like they're going to be not that bad, but it's a big question mark. It's an uncertainty. Market doesn't like uncertainty. We've got the CPI numbers coming in this week, and there's another one. Everybody knows what they're going to be, but until they get announced, we're going to have our panic, our monthly panic when the CPI comes out, even though we all know it's not going to be good. Then we got the Fed coming out, and we already know what they're going to do too. They're going to raise rates a quarter point. So that day might actually be a really good day because that is what the market expects. And we could go down between now and that day and then have a bounce when the Fed raises rates. So, but who knows? We could have a giant rally tomorrow. That's the way it usually works. We're down massively today, and tomorrow's going to be green. Yeah, JJT saying long term, these are the days that count if you're buying. Yeah, I mean, there were some big opportunities today if you believe in your stocks. I'm going to start with one that I'm very worried about. Wolf. So I don't know. I do not invest in Wolf currently, but this is the fourth day in a row. It ended up down 17%. It was down almost 22% at one point. It's been down double digits now 4 days in a row. It's down like 70% in the last week. So on no real news. So I don't know if anybody knows what's going on. I have steered clear of this. I can't figure out what's going on since they haven't really started conducting business. I don't know where the bottom is. So I've stayed away from this. But for all I know, I mean, down 70% in a week, this could be a monster buying opportunity. But for me, I don't have enough information to make that decision. DigiHost is another one that's bizarre, and this is a small cap, but it outperformed all week last week. It outperformed all the other Bitcoin miners, and now today it's down 16%. So that was a beat down. Cypher was up 10% today. So this was the gigantic outlier, and I know some people in the Discord bought some Cypher today. So it just, and again, I can't find anything specific. They announced their year-end results, but they really didn't do anything this year. So that was not exactly enlightening. But they do seem to, I think at $2.50, they seem to have found a rock-solid floor, and they bounced off of that today. I mean, they're at $2.93, almost $3, which is still extremely low for them, but they've bounced off of $2.50 several times. JM saying, Wolf is scary. They don't own anything, just a plan. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And an actor endorsement, which is never good. Yeah, that almost hurts. So there's a lot of these companies that are just getting started, and they have big ideas and big plans and big purchase orders. But I think the market is running away from them right now. There are other companies that are already up and running and doing. And, you know, even those aren't, it's not like people are flocking to those either, but I think they're running away from the companies that have no track record yet at all. You know, Cypher really has no track record, but that has been beaten down. I mean, that was beaten down all the way to $2.50. So it seems to have found a little bit of a bottom right there. I don't know why Riot outperformed Marathon by so much today. They usually trade somewhat in tandem, but Marathon had a rough day, and they did not have a great January. I know there's a lot of Marathon fans out there. Oh, has anybody seen the video? Is anybody here from the video by any chance? So I know there's a lot of, just drop me a note if you happen to be here from the video. I know there's a lot of Marathon stockholders that watch the channel and that are in the Discord, and I'm a long-term fan of Marathon. It is super frustrating what they're doing right now. They're sitting on 60,000 machines that they have that are not plugged in. You know, their mining results in February, I think they mined 360 something. It was not good. It was not. I think they probably had, proportionally compared to January, they might have had the worst results out of everybody. And there's going to be a time, sometime in July or August or September, they're going to get these machines plugged in, and they've got a lot more coming. They got 199,000 machines on the way, you know, still over the next 12 months. So at some point, they're going to be a monster. But here's the thing, and this is why I want to talk about Cores. Cores is already a monster. Core Scientific is multiples bigger than Marathon and Riot. And I'm not saying they're a better company or a better investment. I think, well, I might be saying they're a better investment in my opinion. Marathon has a higher market cap than Core Scientific does. Core Scientific is over 8 exahash right now of their own Bitcoin mining. And they have another 7 or 8 that they're hosting. So these guys did $500 million in revenue last year. I think they stand a shot at $2 billion in revenue in 2022. And right now their market cap is $2 billion. I'm going to pull them up. $1.99 billion. Unbelievable. $6.28. They are now under $2 billion market cap. And remember, a bunch of these miners were bigger than this, had bigger market caps than this 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And I'm not talking about when Bitcoin hit 70,000. Some of those times were when Bitcoin was at 40,000 or 45,000. So I know Marathon hit 7.5 billion in November, and that was when Bitcoin was at its high. But, you know, Core Scientific is at over 8 exahash right now. Really, nobody, basically the big boys got over 2 by the end of 2021. And they're now coming up on 4. So they're you know, and that's really just Marathon and Riot are approaching 4 exahash, which is still less than half of what Core is doing. And they might catch up to them at some point, but right now there's no sense. JJT, any idea how Cores will finance their growth? I know they have done a combination of things. They do have some debt, and not too many of the other Bitcoin miners have debt like they do. But they also have a massive revenue stream with their hosting services. So, you know, there's cash flow that's coming in. They're going to be hosting, they're already hosting 7 or 8 exahash worth of Bitcoin mining, and that's going to be up to 20 by the end of the year. So they'll get some cash flow from that. My guess is they'll borrow some money. I think they're probably going to sell some Bitcoin, and, you know, all these guys, one way or the other, they end up doing some dilution. So I don't know if there's a Bitcoin miner on the board that's going to avoid some dilution in 2022 if they want to keep up with the gigantic plans that they're all talking about. Unless they really want to dump Bitcoin. But right now, Core Scientific's been holding almost every Bitcoin they produce. They're about to be the largest Bitcoin holder out of all the Bitcoin miners. I think they're maybe 1 month away from that. And Marathon bought half their Bitcoin. So Marathon still does have more Bitcoin than them, but they bought 4,000 Bitcoin, and it's very close right now. So, you know, I know there's dilution out there, but if you think about it, at 1.99 billion, there's not that much dilution ahead that warrants this type of reduction in market cap. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I said, I think they stand a very good chance at having $2 billion of revenue. And if they do that, they could have a $500 million of net income, you know, and then they're going to have a 4-to-1 PE ratio, a 1-to-1 sales ratio, and a 4-to-1 PE ratio at this point. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. We got one person who said they watched the video. Thanks. So I posted a video. After this thing is done, if you guys want, I did do a daily Bitcoin update video and went through some of that. I also did a core scientific video today. And for those of you following Romeo, they had a really nice update, and they had a really good day. JJT watched the video. Thanks. I watched them all. I know, and I appreciate it, and you comment on them all. Thank you. JM, so do you. Thanks. I appreciate it. JM saying he did swing trade from cores, or I'm sorry, from other miners to cores today. Yeah, I mean, I did not do that today. I actually, this is a rare day. I didn't make any trades. We were sitting right on a line, and I was going to pull the trigger on a bunch of trades at around 3:30, and I didn't do it. I have a position in Core Scientific that I was going to add to, and I did not do that. And I was going to add to a bunch of my other positions. Not in a huge way, just a little dollar cost averaging in. These are the kind of days that are perfect for dollar cost averaging in. So really, I regretted it after the market closed. I probably should have done that. I mean, Bitfarms was down 6%. I hold Bitfarms, CleanSpark, Hut, Hive. I mean, I own most of the top of this list, as well as a few scattered throughout here. The newer Bitcoin miners, I have not jumped into yet for the most part, because, you know, there's just not enough information out on them yet, and most of them aren't really doing anything yet. Rob S. is saying, would you say Core is undervalued? I would say it's dramatically undervalued, in my opinion. Yes, I think that it's just went under $2 billion market cap at 1.99 billion. There would be, I would say there's just as good a chance they'll be over a $10 billion market cap by the end of the year as not. So, you know, that's my opinion, that's my projection, unless, of course, Bitcoin just has an awful year all year. I don't think that's what's in store. I think we're having several things come down on the market and Bitcoin at the same time over the last few months. It's causing massive downward pressure, but even with that, we're not retesting even recent lows. So I'm actually pretty bullish on Bitcoin, despite the fact that it really, I mean, days like today are just painful to watch this thing go down the last 5 hours of the day, and for half the board to turn from green to red. Although, I mean, the market was down all day. So, you know, Bitcoin was kind of on its own island there until about the middle of the day, and it started going down too. So this orange line is where it closed. That is when the market closed on Friday. So as of noon, we were basically exactly back to where we started when the market had closed on Friday. So like the whole weekend disappeared. However, we did go down. So we haven't tested this line in a while. And we tested that right at the end of the day, the last hour of the day. And at the moment, so these are 30-minute candles, so, you know, we're still right here on the brink of this, but at the moment, we seem to be holding this line. That would be really good news, because below that, let me go out to the, 2 hours. So below that is our February low was 34,200. Our January low was actually a little under 33,000. So, you know, we got, those are the next 2 points of support. So I'd rather not be dealing with these. So I'm hoping this thing holds. It has held. If you look, I mean, we did go down and have this quick flash down and set a low right here. But other than that, between these 2 lines, we've been trading in this channel for a while now. And, you know, we dipped below it for a minute. We ran above it, tested this crucial. This is the line. This purple line is what we have to break out of. Otherwise, really, if I zoom out, you can see we're just going up and down and up and down. We're trading totally sideways for the whole year this year. And we keep bumping into 45,000 and we can't seem to break through it. So that is what we need to break through. Obviously, that's not happening today. Today, I will be happy with holding 37,000, this red line right here. Which, I'm starting to get encouraged. But you never know. You guys see how fast this stuff changed. Rob, yeah, you watched it all afternoon live. Me too. It just kept trickling down and getting worse and worse. Okay, JM seems safe under 8. Is that Core Scientific? Is that what you're saying? Which one are you talking about? Could be interesting to compare the miners by market cap versus Bitcoin held versus the current hash rate. And I have some of those calculations. I'm going to update that. I did some of that for January. I'll do a few videos in March using the February end of the month numbers and the February mining numbers. And, you know, you get very different results. A lot of these companies have very different philosophies. For instance, CleanSpark, this is 2 months in a row they've sold, you know, a lot of Bitcoin. And they've talked about taking a more balanced approach going forward, but they have almost no Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So if you're going to use that as their parameter, then, you know, they look awful next to the other Bitcoin miners. However, they're over 2 exahash. And they're extremely competitive. They're very similar in exahash and in coins mined per month to Hut 8 and Bitfarms. So that's the class that I put them in. But they do have a different philosophy on holding Bitcoin. So, you know, some people love that and some people hate it. It's that seems to be a very split decision. So you guys can let me know what you think. I don't know that there's a wrong answer. I think, you know, if you're able to hold your Bitcoin without going through too much dilution, then I think that's a good thing because, you know, I'm bullish on Bitcoin. So I assume a year from now, it's going to be a lot more than it is today. And 5 years from now, it's going to be a lot more than it is, you know, then. And that's what everybody's counting on. And there's an awful lot. You can see there are now a lot of Bitcoin miners publicly traded on the NASDAQ. And that was not true a year ago. So, you know, most of these names either migrated to the NASDAQ. There were a bunch of Canadian miners that listed themselves on the NASDAQ this year. And a bunch of these are just new miners that aren't even mining anything yet. And some of them are private that went public via SPAC or otherwise. So, you know, we went from, there was a time where it was Riot and Marathon, and that was just maybe 1 year ago. And over the counter, you could trade, you know, Hut and Hive and Bitfarms and DigiHost, but those were smaller over-the-counter stocks in the United States. If you're somewhere else, I'm not sure, you know, how it works in all the different places. Obviously, you're in Canada, you could have bought those directly all along. Argo Blockchain, I was very disappointed. I have not done a video on them yet, but I was very disappointed in their February update. I was very disappointed in their January update, only their February update was worse. So I'm not sure what they're doing at Argo Blockchain right now. They're not disclosing their hash rate, but you can kind of deduce what it is based on the amount of Bitcoin that they're mining per month, and they seem to be going absolutely sideways. So many companies went from behind them to now past them by that I don't know Now their stock price has suffered for it dramatically. So, you know, their market cap I think is around 350,000 now. They were over $1 billion I think at one point. But everybody's market cap is down to that extent pretty much. The biggest CleanSpark has had the biggest run I think in the last month, and it's pulled way off of its highs, but it's way off of its lows. So there are some that are still way up, but today did not help. So Stronghold, they got crushed today. Puts, yeah, if you're doing puts in the market was great. So many puts did me well. Yeah, I mean, if you got puts, then you probably did great. Otherwise, I do want to show you some stocks that the EV sector had a very strange day. And the EV sector is something I follow very closely. I invest in the small cap EV stocks, so you guys know some of those if you're familiar with the channel, because I do videos on them and they're in the 10K challenge. But I don't really invest in the large cap, but I follow them, and they really had very different days today. I'll get to that in a minute. Let me see. Argo is way behind and does not have the money for building. Riot is way ahead, said JM. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why they don't go get the money. I mean, that's where you do some dilution. It's better than falling hopelessly behind. You know, there's a chance some of these companies aren't going to make it past the halving, right? Because that's going to be a game changer. The difficulty level is going to continue to increase, although that has been very sketchy. The worldwide hash rate is, I think, right now at like 180 exahash. And, you know, it popped up to 248 exahash for one day, and I did a video. I don't believe that number. It hasn't been anywhere near that since, and I just don't see, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of top-of-the-line machines that would have to be plugged in or unplugged to make that kind of difference in the worldwide hash rate. So I'm not sure. I think it's settling in the 180s, between 180 and 200, and I do think it will go up all year. I mean, we know the plans that the miners on the NASDAQ have, so there's maybe 80 exahash that's going to get added just right here on this board. So I would not at all be surprised to see 180 turn into 280 or 320. So, you know, somebody like Argo, who is not growing at all, they're going to get decimated by the hash rate difficulty level. And then, you know, the reward is going to get cut in half a year later. And, you know, unless they've kept up, that's, you know, DigiHost, one of the reasons they've had a couple of down days is, I did a video on this too. They did something, what I consider radical. They're an $80 million market cap company, and they did at the market $250 million offering. And now they did another offering today. So that's probably why they're down again today. But I think they made the decision. It's now or never. We gotta, you know, they're at 0.415 exahash of mining capacity, and that's not going to cut it. I think they know they got to get. They've got plans already to get up to 2 or 3, but there's some profit sharing involved in that. So, you know, with $250 million, they could get several exahash of their own over the course of the next year and stay in the game. Do you think some miners were selling Bitcoin instead of holding if the price keeps dropping to remain profitable? I think that some miners are going to, whether the price goes up or down, I think you're going to see some miners, and some already have, like CleanSpark led the way with that. They started it, but I think Iris sells their Bitcoin. I would have to double check that. I think they're one of the ones that do. And there's a couple other that do. There's a bunch that have this 95 to 100% holding our Bitcoin philosophy. But the thing is, I just don't think they're going to be able to have that forever, because, you know, when you talk about trying to pay the bills and cash flow, their source of revenue is Bitcoin. So, you know, if they take 100% of their revenue and they're unwilling to spend any of it forever, it's hard to run a business that way. So, you know, you could keep borrowing money or keep selling more stock, but those, you know, those don't work forever. So I'm guessing there's going to be a combination, especially when these guys get big enough where, you know, Coors and Marathon and Riot are probably on the cusp of being at a point where if they just sold 10 or 15% a month of what they mined, they'd pay all their bills and still be able to have a hodl policy of, you know, 80 or 85%. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Did not look. How did Volta do? Volta was sideways. And I will do a video on them. And, you know, I made a decision to add them to the 10K challenge versus ChargePoint. ChargePoint's the one I've been looking at. And one day, and that seems like the wrong decision because ChargePoint had a great day today. And Volta was sideways. But I'm not going to judge that after one day. I know ChargePoint. I mean, I talked about it in my 10K challenge update. I know ChargePoint's been raging right now, and it'll probably keep going for a little while. I just hate to jump in on the bandwagon when it may be halfway or all the way to wherever it's running up to. So the stocks in the 10K, I want to go to a couple. So I'm scrolling down to the next group of. These are basically all EVs. So you'll see the big dogs did not have a good day. Other than Lucid for some reason. Lucid was up 2%. Rivian was down another 10%. They're at $42. They were at $68 last week. So, you know, they did their price raise and they had some really bad press about that. I did a video on that if you want to see a deep dive. And they have just been plummeting since then. And they are announcing earnings this week as well. So I will tell you, I'm not invested in any of these large cap EV stocks. But if Rivian gets pummeled on their earnings report, I am going to consider buying some options. Because they're starting to get, I mean, these guys were at $180 a few months ago. You know, if they start dropping down to $35, that's an 80% drop off in a very short period of time. And there was no doubt they were in a bubble and overbought up, you know, in the high 100s, but, you know, in the 30s or potentially even the 20s for all I know. I feel like that might be something I'm interested in. And I don't usually do this. This isn't my bag. These guys are down here because I have a lot more, like I have Arrow in the 10K challenge. It was up 7% today. So today was a awful day for basically the entire stock market. But Arrow had a good day. And we have that in the 10K challenge. And Romeo was up 7% today. So that had a good day. We have that in the 10K challenge. And two other stocks that I do videos on and hold personally that are not in the 10K challenge. Solo was up almost 4%. And Beam was up 7.6%. So those stocks all did well. FUV was up over 11%. I don't own that anywhere. But that had a great day. So you can see the small cap EV stocks do their own thing. They do not do what the large cap EV stocks do. And these guys got taken out today. Now there's going to be another day where the opposite happens probably because that's how it goes. But I do think there's a big difference. If you look at all of the metrics on these companies, not so much ChargePoint, but Arrow and Romeo and Solo and Beam and XL, they're so oversold. They're already down, you know, a lot of these are already down 90%. Some of them are now down to a market cap that is less than the cash they have in the bank minus their debt. So when your market cap is less than your net cash, you know, you're either going out of business or it's a good buying opportunity. So I think for some, you know, I picked the ones that I think are a good buying opportunity. And obviously I have Romeo and Arrow in the 10K challenge. So, you know, that was some. By the way, we are now at, sorry, got to squint to even see it. We're at 38,000 on Bitcoin. So we seem to be holding on. We got down to 37,161 was the low. So we're still up almost $1,000 off of our low. So let's see if we can make that the bottom and recover. Brandon the Gray said, I've been watching Riot, almost ready to add a few shares. Could you look at Vail? Thanks. Riot is one of the positions I have, and nobody's paying attention to Riot for some reason. They had a nice day. Well, it ended up 0.2%, but they were green all day today. And they had fantastic February results. And the other thing that's more important to me is, even though ultimately I think Marathon is going to be bigger than Riot, Riot keeps doing exactly what they said they were going to do. So they put out, you know, a monthly update. They say what they did and they project what they're going to do. And they seem to be very close to on target every month. And they're mining a lot more Bitcoin right now than Marathon is. Again, that will probably change by the end of the year. But for the moment, you know, Riot is doing great. I think this is way under $2 billion right now. So I think in my opinion, that's a good deal. Let's look at, not Valet. So I don't know this company. Iron ore and iron ore. Is this the one you're talking about? I'm not familiar with this. I don't follow this sector at all. So honestly, I would not be talking intelligently if I talked about this. They're they're almost $100 billion company. So, you know, this is a big company, but I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about it to talk intelligently, so I won't. So I want to just go to the wolf chart because so it actually had some green candles at the end of the day today. Let me get off of the 30-minute. So you can see this is 1 week ago. This is Wolf in the last week. I mean, other than this, I'm now on the 2-hour candle chart. So other than the last 2 hours of the day, which was really probably just the last half hour of the day, this thing's been going down in a straight line. I mean, this was last Monday, and now it's this Monday. So that's actually 6 days. But from the top to the bottom, this was down 67% in a week. And even from the top to the close today, you know, still down almost 60%. So I don't know, is anybody out there invested in this? I can't bring myself to invest in this. I cannot find out very much information. They're very scarce with their information, and I don't think they're producing any Bitcoin at all. They did put a press release out right in the middle of this drastic downfall, somewhere around right here. They put a press release out that said, hey, we started mining Bitcoin. But they didn't say how much, you know, what their hash rate was. They gave no details at all. They just kind of gave a good news, we're mining Bitcoin now. So I didn't really buy that when I read it, and I'm not saying it's false because I don't know that, but it did not, let's just say it did not inspire or motivate me, and I think the market agreed because the stock has continued to just tank massively since that. So that on that day, it was up 6 or 8% on that news in the first half hour, and I think it ended down 15% on the day because, you know, a generic thing that says we're mining Bitcoin now, you got to tell us we're at 0.2 exahash, we're at whatever it is. We need information is better than no information. So putting something out like that actually, I think, hurt them. So I don't know. This is the first green we've seen in a while. Maybe they bottomed out here. JJT saying, I'm not touching the non-producing miners. I have the same philosophy right now. There's so many drastically undervalued miners, in my opinion, from the valuation that I'm putting on these. So, you know, obviously everybody's got their own opinion, but I believe all of these guys up here that have been doing this for a while are way undervalued. So I can't see myself taking money out of there and putting it into a miner that doesn't even own a machine yet and has never mined a Bitcoin. And a year from now, that'll be a different story. I mean, that was some of these miners a year ago, but, you know. So some of these miners are mining. Gree, Stronghold, Iris, those guys are mining. So they're not giving consistent enough updates for me. So I'm not comfortable yet with them, but they are up and running and mining and doing something. So I think they will join the game and start to give the more uniform, full update on a monthly basis once they're moving in the direction they want to move in. That's the other thing about Argo blockchain. You know, they give a monthly update and they don't say what their hash rate is. So you get, again, no information is sometimes worse than bad information. Just tell us what your hash rate is. You know what it is. So, and we can kind of tell too, based on, I think they were down to like 137 Bitcoin mined in the month of February. I'm just going to check that because that seems way too low. $135 Bitcoin in February compared to 172 in January. So I was shocked that they were only doing 172 in January, and now they're down to 135. I mean, that is seriously less than these guys used to. They used to be very close to Hive and Hut and Bitfarms. Now those guys are doing 2, 3, 4 times as much as Argo is. So I don't want to beat them up, but I thought I remembered a bad number. It's even worse than I thought. 135 in the month of February. Right, CleanSpark went from doing nothing. They're doing over 200 a month now. So I think they did over 300 in January. So they're 2 or 3 times the size of Argo now. Although their market caps are similar. So to me, that's why I would rather have. So Argo's market cap is 359,000. CleanSpark's market cap is 377,000, almost the same, and these guys are mining way more. 276, so more than double the Bitcoin. Now, they use their Bitcoin to fund operations, so that's a different strategy, and we talked about that earlier, you know. So it depends on whatever you think. Brandon's asking buying. I don't know what that first ticker is. Oh. I'm not sure. At some point, higher inflation is going to be good for Bitcoin. Please be soon. So, I mean, that's the theory. That's the whole point of Bitcoin, is ultimately that it's supposed to be a store of value. In addition to the fact that it has utility, it's not, Bitcoin's price is not based on its utility. That is a piece of the puzzle, and it's gaining more and more acceptance around the world, but it's as a store of value that the long-term thesis on Bitcoin is. If you want to talk about numbers like it's at right now at 35 or 40,000 or 80,000, or, you know, there's people that have talked about 200,000, 500,000. I saw somebody talking about $2 million in 10 years. So I don't know about any of those numbers, but even where it's at right now, it's clearly there because it's trading as a store of value. And why it's not acting that way in the short term, it baffles me. It doesn't make any sense. And, you know, it looked like it was breaking away from the NASDAQ. And, you know, then we kind of had a reversal on Thursday and Friday of last week, and it looks like they kind of came back together. But today the NASDAQ got really beat up, 3.62%. So Bitcoin did a lot better than the NASDAQ today. So this is the line I've been looking at that I think we need to get above. You know, this was we were having a bullish pattern here. It fell apart. I've done a bunch of videos on what happened, and to me, I think it's got very little to do with Bitcoin and a lot to do with geopolitics. And obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So, you know, I think we got to get above this line, and ultimately this purple line is, so I think we looked at this earlier. Last time we were above this purple line was January 5th. So basically all of 2022 we've been below the 45,500 point. We tested it, you know, this is kind of once. If you want to count this as twice, you can. And then again just a little bit ago, and just failed. But, you know, stuck in this range. So we're very range bound right now. It feels like Bitcoin is just going down and doing nothing and failing, but really it's very range bound. I mean, I can't draw, but I'm going to. You know, it was down, it was up, it was down, then it quickly went up, and now it's back down. So it really hasn't gone anywhere. It's just going up and down between the same two lines. So to me, you know, that's not good. And the Bitcoin miners have been beaten up in the meantime. But this is not negative price action to me. It's very neutral price action. And almost every indicator was pointing bullish a week ago. And, you know, the stuff in Russia and Ukraine just derailed that. And I'm not sure when it's going to come back around. I think it's going to come back around. I'm still bullish in the medium term and long term. So, you know, I don't know if this is a 1 day problem, 1 week problem, a 1 month problem, but I will be averaging in. I have not sold anything. So, in my Bitcoin miners, I've sold some options outside of the Bitcoin space, but with the miners, I've just been adding to my positions. I did not add today, but I did add on Friday to almost everything, and that's one of the reasons I didn't add today, is I had already just averaged into everything on Friday. So let me just catch up on a couple of the different kind of JJ Peters, different kind of miner. Yes, that's it. Was also very undervalued. Not sure. Can't remember what we were even talking about back then. Any idea if the volume in trading the miners is stable? It's been fairly stable. You know, some of these guys, when they have a bad day, it's on high volume, but a lot of these down days are on just very average volume. So, you know, it went on days where there's big news, obviously the volume spikes. But if you look at everybody's volume today, I think it might have even been low. I'm going to look at, so this was almost dead on versus the average, 2.1 versus 2.5. That's a little low. Last time I looked, Bitfarms was a little under its daily average today. Yeah, 5.7 versus 7 million, but, you know, no spikes in volume. There's a few of these that trade on very low volume. That's another thing that keeps me away from some of these. I would rather be in Bitfarms that, sells 5 or 6 or 7 million shares a day, then some of these are still in the 100,000 range, 100,000 shares, 200,000 shares. That's very low volume. Also, I don't like getting into stocks that don't even have options at all. Even if I'm not going to use the options, I like them to be mature enough to at least have the options, because I think that's a stabilizing factor. Brandon's asking some buying levels for Riot. I mean, I think it's for me personally, and again, this is just my opinion, let's bring up Riot. I think I've averaged into it myself recently. So this is how I look at Riot. This white line right here, this goes back to 2 places. This has been support. This was July 19th when Bitcoin hit $29,000. So that's where Riot was trading when Bitcoin was at $29,000, and Riot was at about 1/3 of the mining capacity that they're at right now. So then fast forward to September 29th, which is the day I always go back to. This is kind of when all of the Bitcoin miners bottomed out, somewhere within a day of this. So you can see this held as a line of support. And that's back when you can see Bitcoin was at $39,000 right there. Bitcoin was at $41,000 right here. So those all held. This line of support held strong through all of these much lower. This is a much lower level at 29,000. Then, once it broke below that, it has gone down. This is its new low is at $12.93. We're under $15 right now. In my opinion, this number is a bare minimum. So just to get back to this white line, which was its previous line of support at much lower Bitcoin numbers and when they were a much smaller company. So, and for those of you who think it's due to dilution, if you go to the market cap analysis, you'll see their market cap is down drastically. So, yeah, they have had some dilution since then, but that's not why the price is down. It is their market cap that keeps shrinking. And to me, I don't know how long this is going to take, but for me, this price target is an absolute minimum as far as I'm concerned, because, this held up at 29,000. And really, if you look, these were much more. This got up to $46 in November. It actually got much higher than that the first time around. This was up to $79.50 back when Bitcoin topped out. Well, this was in February. So even if you forget this and let's say all that was a bubble, everything was out of control back then. By here, these are reasonable numbers. This is between 25, 34, and 46. So those are all reasonable trading ranges for Riot, in my opinion. So every time it dips down, anytime it gets near this purple line, I will average in. I averaged in on Friday, so I did not do so today, but I mean, in my opinion, this is way oversold. And even if you look at let's just look at this is the 2-hour RSI. It's, I hate to judge it on that, but it's in a little bit of an oversold position, but that's a very short-term way to look at it. From a big picture standpoint, I believe this is a very low number, and Riot is going up from here. JJT, I think to get back into Voyager Digital, do you have this one on your watch list or any opinion? Yes, I have this on my watch list, and I think it was around $6 today. I could not believe. $6.16. It got down to $5.99 today, which is its all-time low. So I'm not in this position, and it is only because I'm already in so I'm so deep into this space with all the Bitcoin miners that I don't want to add yet another position, but I follow this because, you know, under $10 I thought it was a steal. And now, you know, it got down to $5.99. So I think on a long-term basis, I mean, you can see the analysts have a target, but not that this means anything at all, but the analysts have a target price of 25.61. So that would be a quadruple from where it is right now. That is not my target price, but from here to $15, I mean, I think there's a very good chance that that run happens. I don't know if I'll buy. At some point, this may get too good to pass up, and down at $5, where I never ever imagined it would be, it might be starting to get there. But I hate to add another cryptocurrency play into my portfolio, which is already very, very cryptocurrency heavy. My equities portfolio, and it's mostly the miners that we talk about. And Galaxy Digital is a very similar, I have basically the same answer. Let's see how they're doing versus... Whoa. Okay, pressed the wrong button. Oh, this is the one. This is on the Toronto. Are they over the counter in the U.S.? Well, anyway, they're at $14. It looks like their 52-week low is at $13. They've been as high as $46. Again, I would not go into this just because I'm too heavy in the space. You'll see people who follow Galaxy also follow HUT, which I own, Bitfarms, which I own, Hive, which I own, DMG, which I own, and Voyager, which I don't own. So, like, I feel like I'm very much in this space. So let's just check back in on Bitcoin and see how it's doing. And unless anybody has any other specific questions, I'm probably going to wrap it up in a little bit. And you guys can watch when you're done with this if you want to. I did do a Bitcoin update video today and gave some a little bit of a deeper dive analysis. But let's look. We're at $38,149, so we're up $1,000 from about, you know, an hour and a half ago. So that's encouraging. These are 2-hour candles. This is the second one that's this closed above the line. This is way above this line of support. This is what I was really, really hoping for. And that's the decision I was making at 3:30. I really should have. This is a line of support, and it was right on it. And that should have been another buying opportunity. It's just that I had already, like I said, averaged into almost everything on Friday. So I held off. And I'll be glad if I missed it, because I'd rather have Bitcoin go back up than, you know, have another chance to... We've bought enough dips. Let's just have Bitcoin get going. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for showing up to the live stream. And thank you for watching my videos in general and leaving comments. I really appreciate it. I get a lot of positive feedback, and that helps. And I do read everybody's comment. I fell a little bit behind on responding, but I read them all, and I did respond to a bunch of them last night. So I appreciate it, and a lot of good thoughts and a lot of good input from people. And I know a bunch of the people here on the live stream right now are regular commenters, so I thank you for that very much. So, all right, I'll see you guys in